Welcome to From the Porch. I am Shannon Buckleback, and I have the honor today to be here with Jeanette Parham. She is running for County Court at Law number 1, which is going to be the family court for right now. And I just wanted you guys to hear the rest of her story. I've gotten to know her at all the campaign candidate forums and different things over the last, I don't know, at least 6 months that we've been running, and we're both in the runoff. So I wanted everybody just to get to know a little bit more of her story besides just a lot of her credentials. She has a lot of experience, but I wanted to just maybe start with, how you got into being a lawyer.
Apparently it started when I was in high school. I had an idea that I wanted to be a mechanical engineer or a maritime lawyer, but that wasn't in the cards at that time. I graduated at a time that women weren't supposed to work. They were supposed to marry and go home and take care of the house. So I got nothing from my high school as far as getting into college, and I graduated at 16 because I took courses in summer school that I didn't like, which is kind of humorously English and history, which is what I now do for a living in law. But I went on to college from there, and it didn't last long. I got married at 17, and at that age you have time for everything except school. So I had one child out of that marriage. I was ready for that marriage. He was not. And we divorced, and I married again at 26, worked all the way through. In 1980, I was expecting my second child and working for a small company that was bought out by a company in Arkansas. They came in 30 days after they bought the company out and said, well, you got your notice 30 days ago that you weren't going to have a job. They had told me I was going to run their Houston office. They weren't going to have a Houston office was the problem. And at that point, again, even in 1980, no one was going to hire somebody that was a guaranteed walkout in a few months because they were going to have a baby. And so I went to an attorney and I said, incorporate me. I have no clients. I have no money, but I'm going to go into business. And I ran that business for 20 years. It was an ERISA administration business, which is, ERISA is retirement plans under the federal government guidelines. And I ran it for mom and pop companies that wanted to provide retirement plans for their employees. I had about 250 clients at one point and 9 employees. So I've run an office and a budget and worked with employees. During that time, the man that I was married to went to law school, got his law degree, and I went to paralegal school because I had all the equipment for him to go in business for himself. I was going to be his support staff, and I found out that paralegal school and being a paralegal wasn't enough in practicing law for me. So I went back to college. I had taken 20 years off. When I went back to college, I did 4 years of college and 3 years of law school in 5 calendar years while I ran my company on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I would go to school when the first class opened on Tuesdays and Thursdays and leave when the last class closed on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. And shortly after I passed the bar and got sworn in fact, the day I got sworn in, I took my first felony case and had figured out that I wanted to be in a courtroom, not at a desk. And so I have practiced felony criminal defense and criminal defense since that time, which has been 30 years. And I have also, during that time, carried about a 50% criminal defense, 50% family law caseload.
Okay. So let's go back. You were talking about your husband adopted your daughter.
My second husband adopted my daughter from my first marriage, and it was by agreement with all the parties, but you still have to go through a social study. And the social study is whether or not you're fit to adopt your own child, and that is scary.
Yes.
I did get through it, but the lawyers didn't seem to understand, and the court didn't seem to understand the anxiety that caused. And I would.
Yeah, you can empathize with people.
Absolutely understand everything that they're going through in most of the circumstances they're going through, because all of the emotion is there, and family law is an extremely emotional court. Emotions are just, I mean, people are ready to fight over kids and sometimes over property. So it's something that you have to be aware of and be ready to deal with. I know that Judge Cheney preaches a little bit from the bench, and in family court, I probably will too, as far as letting these parents understand what they're doing to a child if they're bad-mouthing the other parent, because that child's half each parent.
Yes.
And if you start telling the child how bad the other parent is, that child's going, well, you know, half of me must be bad. And if the other parent's doing the same thing, then the child's going, I don't have a prayer. I'm just bad both ways. And that's the kids that I end up seeing in felony court, because they had no sense of self-esteem or that they had any good in them at all, and they end up being the ones that act out and stay in trouble. And that's a sad beginning for a kid.
Yeah, and we're talking about, because I've been in this court too with custody with June Jackson court, and it was for my nieces. So sometimes it's not always the parents, but we're saying they need the whole family. They need to make sure they have everyone supporting them during these times.
They do need the whole family, and there are times that parents just don't have the ability to raise the child, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the parent should be excluded from the child's life, or in any circumstance that the child should lose their entire heritage on either side.
Right.
Because so many adopted children now go back at 18, and when they're an adult, and they start looking for that natural mom and natural family, and there's registries for that, and there's a reason for that. And if you cut that off as the child is growing up, the child has a tendency to wonder, why wasn't I good enough?
Right.
And it's never the child that wasn't good enough, but that's the feeling that they grow up with. And they grow up with that feeling in silence a lot of times.
Right.
I know I ran across some of that because my first husband chose his second family over his first child. And she grew up. When she was old enough, she got up and got in his face and said, hey, remember me? And developed a relationship with that family that she did not have the luxury of having when she was growing up, because they wouldn't participate.
Right.
That's hard on a child. And I will do everything I can to prevent that from happening, and wake people up to the fact that that's what it does to a child.
Right.
The same thing with this court. As our county grows, we're slated right now to be 6 times the size that we are within the next 5 years.
Right.
That is a lot of people. And we only have 2 legislatures between now and then to give us new courts. And we're not at a point with this legislature that we fit the criteria for another court.
Right.
So that leaves us with 1. And the courts are going to be behind the population. So right now this is a family law bench, but it's going to shift, and it's going to start handling some of the other business that it can handle, which is misdemeanors. There again, I have the background, having done felonies and misdemeanors down to traffic tickets in 42 different counties in this state for the last 30 years. So I would not have to learn criminal law. I don't have to learn family law. I don't have to learn how to deal with CPS cases. And I don't have to learn how to do jury trials. So I'm already trained in a lot of that, and I want to bring that to this county and bring the education that I've gotten over the last 30 years, not only in law, but as person that has been a party to a case and as a grandma and watching kids grow up. I've had some clients that the first case I handled for them, they were 6 months old, and I was still handling contested enforcements when they were 16. So you learn as you go through all of this, and I want to bring that to this county and help this county.
Yeah, I think we'd be very blessed to have you. So
thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing a little bit of your story, and hopefully you guys have been educated. We will have the other opponent on here too, so please, watch both things and just decide who do you want to be on that bench if your family comes to this courthouse. If you're having issues with your family, your children, think about who you want to have on that bench. So hopefully you've been educated, and share with your neighbor. Please share this podcast so we can get to know each of our neighbors.